European imperialism, which is, we talked about this a little bit earlier, is connected to the Industrial Revolution, which we covered in the first unit. So first of all, what is imperialism? It's basically a control of one country by another. Usually the country that is in control is obviously politically, economically stronger, militarily stronger. And it's done primarily for a variety of reasons, but there's four basic motives, but European imperialism is really based on economic interest. The demand for products, the demand for raw materials spurred on by the Industrial Revolution causes, countries like Great Britain, France, later on Germany and Belgium, to look for that avenues to expand their economies, do the things that are necessary in order to be successful. New markets is one thing. In other words, places that trade some of the products that are being created, but also the demand for raw materials, like the materials that are needed to make the products are also, so there's really two things that they're looking for from an economic standpoint. They're looking at the markets to trade, and they're looking for the raw materials to make the products. In addition to that, you have the political and military motives. Whenever you have economics involved, you're going to have to be able to protect that. The shipping lanes, you want to be able to provide enough support and protect those shipping lanes from, anyone who'd want to, piracy, things of that sort. So there was military bases that were created. For instance, Great Britain had a huge military base and a presence in northern India. Northern India was a huge part of the British Empire. All right. And then there's a sense of nationalism, which is more of the political aspect. Like if you had a large, strong empire like Britain did in the 1800s, that means you had a little more prestige in international affairs. And if there's ever conflicts or anything along those lines, you hold a little bit more authority when you have a large, strong economy and a strong military. Two other motives that go along with these are humanitarian and religious. These are more of kind of the European arrogance, as they sent missionaries and they tried to convert native populations to Christianity because they felt like, that was a better religion than what these native people were practicing in whatever part of the world, whether it's Africa or Far East or Latin America. And any other, the humanitarian part of that is one thing, but also it was a lot easier to trade and communicate with people when they share share the same language, they share the same religious beliefs, so that was always kind of tied to the economic standpoint as well. Also medicine, the political systems, things of that sort were also, they tried to basically make the rest of the world like Europe, practice Christianity, practice democratic law, have, and there was some good to that, obviously. I mean, they brought in modern technology, they brought in modern medicines, things of that sort. But so the humanitarian religious factor. And then lastly was the concept of social Darwinism, where European races were superior to others, especially in Africa. And they felt like it was their obligation that they had to, bring these people back out of the dark ages and to dominate them and to rule them to the point where they could be, uncivil, and they could stop their uncivilized ways in the eyes of the Europeans. So social Darwinism was that concept that European races are superior to others, and that it's our job to take care of the other people of the world. So the rapid spread of imperialism, why was that? Well, first of all, you're talking about primarily Britain and France early on, a little bit later on Germany, Belgium, and then you get to the latter part of the 1800s, early 1900s in the United States also. But just the fact that they had strong, well-organized governments and economies, big, powerful, strong armies, superior technology, they just overwhelm. And the people, let's look at Africa like we have here. The people of Africa try to resist, the being taken over, like everybody would obviously do that. They just couldn't. They were just overwhelmed. They didn't have the ability to withstand. But you can see Africa. This is 1914, so this is right before World War I breaks out. And you can see the different colors there. Almost looks like a jigsaw puzzle. Each one of those colors represents a different European nation controlling that region of Africa. You see France and Britain are the two most dominant, the blue and the pinkish color, lighter pink color. But you also see Italy there in orange, present day, where Libya would be. You can see Belgium, which is the right in the middle there, the darker pink. Also Portugal, and I mentioned Germany as well. So pretty much all of Africa was carved up, controlled by European nations. There's also groups that were against it. There was the anti-imperialists who felt like that imperialism was a tool of the wealthy, which it was. They also found it to be immoral and unethical to impose, their people, take away, strip their culture, that type of thing. And then lastly, obviously, it's kind of hypocritical when your government at home is based on democratic rule, but you're imposing undemocratic rule on others. In other words, you're not allowing these people to choose for themselves. You're not allowing them to vote. You're just imposing, the political and cultural, parts of Europe on them. So forms of imperial rule, I can speak specifically to Britain and to France. They ruled a little bit differently. You can see there's indirect and direct control or rule, indirect rule or direct rule. Indirect rule meaning that you were in charge. If you were a country, you were in charge of that country, but you allowed local people to run it under your supervision. Where direct rule was you had your own people there ruling the government. Like if you were from France, you had Frenchmen there, running the country. And that was how it worked in parts of the French, whereas the British used indirect. So again, direct system, a system whereby colonies were governed by European officials at the top positions, and then natives served under them as subordinates. That would be direct rule. Again, European individuals are running the country, but they have native officials who are like serving under them, type of thing. And it was primarily used by the French. And North Africa would probably be the best example of that. And then you had indirect rule, which was used mostly by the British, where they would be, they would appoint native peoples to rule those areas, but it would be under direct British supervision. And they would be encouraged to speak English, to practice Christianity, to practice English law, to do everything like you would have been done in Europe. Basically trying to eliminate the individual culture and religion, things of that sort. And then lastly, there's another form here. It was called a sphere of influence. This is probably most prevalent in China, where you would be in control of an area exclusively and only for trading and investments. You didn't care about the political standpoint. You didn't really care about much outside of that area. You just wanted to be able to access the trade, whether it's the products, the raw materials, the markets, whatever. You didn't have any goal of colonizing that area. You just wanted to reap the benefits of what economics could be. All right, so we're going to stop there on this.